Erick, it seems like not too long ago we just had this conversation.
Yeah, talk about your all-time biggest mess-ups, Tyler. I'm so mad.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm so mad at you.
So mad. Well, referencing, we just recorded this, but I didn't push record. I'm taking full responsibility.
No. I should have verified. Trust, but
don't know you don't know the equipment.
You're right, I know.
But
I have no idea.
Q1's in the books. It seems like not too long ago we were here talking about Q4.
Yes, it is. It was messy. It was unique.
Yeah,
there's an opportunity.
Yeah, those are three really good words.
I don't really actually know what
what Q1 was.
Blur. It went fast. It was busy. Also extremely slow.
Yes. And what I think we mean by that is you're spinning your wheels doing a lot of the work without things falling out the pipeline or getting to the pipeline and then maybe jumping off.
I think what I mean by that is we had a lot of stuff happening. Mm-hmm. There's a lot going on in the world, politically, economically, locally, right?
Yeah.
That caused each different segment of the market to take breaths at different times.
That's a really good way to look at that.
And for various reasons, no fault of theirs or ours, they either pressed the pause button or chose to move forward. And I think it was a good learning opportunity for all of us just to take a step back and to ask ourselves why and how we can be better prepared for things and how we can continue to push our business forward as things like this occur.
Yep. And primarily that's why we have these types of conversations. We invite you into these conversations and just sitting here, you said it really nice. A lot of people think we're competitors. We're not. We are here to be better for our clients, to be better for our team members, to be better for ourselves. And if I can help you get there, if you can help me get there, great.
Yeah. I don't know a lot of people. I think a lot of people probably know both of us if they know one of us.
Yeah.
They probably don't know how big of cheerleaders we are for each other.
Yeah.
So, just from a professional respect standpoint, I think we have a unique respect for each other and a unique obligation to help each other be better.
Yes.
Along the way, right? In the hopes of creating a better real estate community and better buyers and sellers and better experiences for those people locally, sublocally, you name it.
Yeah. Which is why, we want to kind of jump out Q2 right here is you did a great job of preparing. And what was the prompt you put into ChatGPT?
It was buyers and sellers are using you to ask questions about their real estate needs. Tell me the top 5 questions you get asked and give me some specific talking points when looking at real estate in our market.
Perfect. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And don't get us wrong. We know our stuff. We could talk about anything in the market, but
I'm just flying blind.
Exactly. But this is what you're asking.
This is not
as a consumer.
We can manufacture a question and then answer it. That's not fun for me. What's fun for me is what are people asking, and what would our responses be to that?
Yeah, which we're going to go through, and we're going to sprinkle in some data, some stats. You know me, I'm a big stat geek. But I think we should just jump right into it. Is the conversation, the first one up, is now a good time to buy or should I wait?
Yeah. And the short answer is...
It depends.
It depends. Maybe, right? Are you prepared to make the move, and do you know what it's going to do for you?
Right.
I think, we've been through a lot in the last year, right? And we have constant news headlines, and we have rate fluctuations, and we have, current political unrest, regardless of which side of the aisle you're on. I think we can all agree that that's probably what it is, or what it could be considered. And we have to do our best at really understanding what does that mean for the housing market, and what does it mean for the buyers that we're currently representing, and what does it mean for the sellers whose homes we have listed, right?
Yes.
And so I think with all things in life, reasonable expectations on behalf of either party create win-win transactions and win-win solutions.
Yes.
Right? It's not, this is mine, pay me what I want, and it's not,
yeah,
I'm only offering you this much, take it or leave it, big guy.
Yeah, and a danger thought to have is I only win if you lose.
Yeah, real estate is not a zero-sum game.
No, absolutely not.
We all have to be better together and understand that we might have to give to find a win-win across all parties in the transaction, because the other option is not going to happen.
Right, exactly. Or it's not going to happen smoothly, that's for dang sure.
Yeah.
Which kind of, I'm going to back up some of those stats of is now a good time. And I think I'm going to reflect this of, in December was canceled transactions. And it was 16.3% of all transactions in the United States canceled for whatever reason. And then it was 14.1 in January. And 13.7 in February.
Okay, so we were upper teens there. We were knocking on 1 in 5 transactions canceled.
Yep. The buyer and seller agreed on a price and to terms, and at some point it canceled, whether it was a seller or a buyer.
For everybody out there, why does something cancel?
It could be condition of the home after an inspection. Could be that. A life change, somebody loses a job, that's probably an extreme one, a small one there. Sometimes it's as petty as personal property.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous to me.
I hate your couch, but I want it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not paying $50 for that, but, so those are the types of things, but I think we probably back up just a little bit there of, buyers could be using stuff like, interest rate changes.
Yeah,
that come out, inside their contingency period or even outside of it. Maybe they fall out of affordability.
Well, that's a big one. I mean, I think that probably it's going to segue us into number 2 of how much house can I actually afford. But I think that's probably one that we should discuss and maybe sit on for a little bit is, you have a 1% interest rate increase. That is going to decrease your purchasing power by 10%. It makes a big difference. The inverse is also true, right? You see a decrease by 1%, you get to buy 10% more house.
Exact, for the same payment.
For the same payment.
And I guess for all intents and purposes, like most buyers are shopping payment, not price.
I would agree.
Yeah, on just about anything, Americans in general.
Yeah, I mean, when rates are at the level they're currently at, buyers are shopping more on payment than they are on what the house actually consists of.
Correct.
And so it's a unique world that we live in when we're forced to make those decisions based upon our wallet and not what we want out of life, right? But that's also a catch-22 because that's where a lot of people get stuck.
Correct.
And that's what's causing a lot of inactivity in the market.
Yes. And to kind of bring it back to the question is, how much house can I really afford? Oftentimes, it is not how much you are approved for, and that's oftentimes it is much, much lower than what you're approved for. And if we're going to be talking about interest rates, if the interest rate moving 1/8 of a point puts you into approved or not approved, probably shouldn't be buying that house. If your margins are that razor thin. If your
margins are that razor thin, I would agree.
You should not be buying a house.
Yep.
So,
but that's up to you. That's not up to us.
Correct. I still might say that, but it's ultimately your choice. You're the one signing the contract. So, but I just wanted, when we have those types of conversations, as buyers are jumping into the market, we want to help you make a good decision for you.
So when you're looking at payment and looking at what you can afford, let's look at what you're not willing to give up either, right? Do you need the motorcycle and the 5 trips in the summertime? Do you need...
Pretty good trip.
It's a good trip. They're good trips.
I only have a scooter, though. So
we'd never ask you to give that up.
Never.
But that question can go on down the line, right? Everyone has a specific lifestyle. The challenge is they want more on one without taking less on the other.
Yeah.
And so if you can do that, great. I don't think I've ever met anyone who can just go absolute one and keep absolute on the other.
Yeah.
And so there does need to be a trade-off, right? And so asking yourself, what are we willing to give up if we are going to spend the extra money here, right? And having clarity around your financial position in that is really empowering for a lot of people.
Yes.
And it helps you make cleaner decisions.
And it's confidence, it's peace. Everything right there once it's clear.
Totally agree.
Once it's clear.
I love that we did this already, and now these are things that we're talking about.
Yeah, we didn't talk about this last time we recorded this 15 minutes ago. You know, that is a huge part of what the market is doing right now, because we were talking about buyer urgency or seller urgency right now. Yeah. And a lot of the times is, you know, kind of coupled on the backs of negative headlines. You know, it's like, but you really have to get all that stuff out and then just take a look at what your snapshot is. Yeah. You came up with this. I use this all the time. I credit you every time I talk to somebody maybe making a price point move. And it's that return on experience or enjoyment.
Return on experience, baby.
And that's a huge thing. In addition to the 5 Ds that are moving right now, you know, your people that, you know, dying or divorcing or, you know,
diapers, diplomas,
all of those people that are life goes on people.
Yep.
Is, where was I going with this?
The return on experience.
The return on experience is, if you can do that, great.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I think you have to look at it holistically, right?
Yeah.
There's an element of financial precision that you need when you're viewing your monthly payment and how it will affect your lifestyle. But you can't live for the house.
Right.
And you can't live for the payment. You want to live the life that you want to live and have your payment be a part of it. Mm-hmm. And part of that is understanding what will that next move do for you. If you, like for me, for instance, you know, I grew up on a 40-acre farm in Waverly. It almost killed me to move to town. I didn't even know what that was. Right? So I always knew it was in my future to get out. And I'm out now. I live out in the country. But I wanted the return on that experience, and so I was willing to pay a little bit more than I wanted to, or even was really comfortable with, because I knew that was the life that I wanted to live.
Yes.
And so when you can make that choice of the life that you want to live and understand the payment that goes along with it, there's an element of comfortability that exists there that you don't get if you're solely looking at, I need to be at this, not going to be at this, I can't afford this, this is what it is.
It's a bigger picture.
It's a much bigger picture.
Mm-hmm. And these are the conversations we have with buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
Of why aren't people buying my house right now?
Yeah.
You know, why isn't my house selling?
That's an interesting one now, huh?
Yeah, that's it.
Let me
tell you.
Let me guess, you have some stats.
I do have some stats. Is exactly right. So I pulled Wright County, Sherburne County, and Hennepin County, and days on market. And, you know, we've got CDOM, cumulative days on market, and PDOM. At which last price point are the days on market?
For the consumers listening, PDOM is which we see in our MLS is the days that it took since the last price drop. But the way that we view it is, what is the price that caused my home to sell?
Yes, that's a very important thing. The first one, cumulative. Since day one on the market, this is including everything. The very first step onto the market in Wright County is 71.9 days on average for the homes that closed in the last 30 days in Wright County. Stats as of an hour ago.
Okay, if you wouldn't have pulled that, would you have been surprised by that?
It's a little higher than I thought. I looked as 47. Would have been like, oh, that's probably right.
Yeah.
72 is a bit higher.
I want to know, like, if you're in the audience here and you hear that, right? Not that this is live, but it will be. Does that surprise you? I mean, I'd love to hear some comments and some feedback from people who are considering selling on is 71 days on market being the average.
Yep. Now,
is that surprising?
That's 71 until you're under contract and no contingencies.
Right.
That's not even closing time.
Right.
So when we're talking about how long does it take to sell and close, these are the types of timelines that we have to look for.
Well, is it a 21-day close or a 30-day close or a 45-day close or a 60-day close? I mean, you could be at a 6 months into the process.
Yep.
In the blink of an eye.
Here's what I talk about a lot as well, is by the time we put it on the market, because this is what the market tells me, you might have been a seller in your mind for 6 months before this. You already might be fatigued of that you're not moved yet.
Yeah.
So we just need to lean into what the market is telling us.
Well, I think the other piece of that is understand that if you're a seller and you've been thinking about selling for a year and you contact an agent 4 months into you thinking about it just to see what they thought you could get, and they recommended that you repainted the house and put in maybe some new light fixtures and some carpet, and you're 6 months into it, understand that you are not alone.
Right.
Misery loves company in that scenario, and you have to understand that we are all part of this giant real estate ecosystem, and that's just the natural life cycle of a seller, right? They're thinking about it, then they choose to talk to somebody about it, then they make the improvements to actually get it ready, then they enter the market. That is daunting. It is.
It's a journey.
It is, especially when you have to think about putting stuff into storage or moving it into mom and dad's extra garage or the grandma's barn or whatever.
Yeah.
But you're not alone.
Exactly.
Everyone's experiencing the same thing. They may be experiencing it differently, but they're experiencing the same thing because nobody wakes up and says, I'm going to move tomorrow, and it's on the market.
Right. I think I've known one person like that. He's retired now. Al, if you ever listen to this. But what was the other one is that PDOM in Wright County.
Yep.
30.3 days.
Wow.
So why those two are important as far as why my home isn't selling. That 72 days, average days on market fully, 30.3 at last price point.
Yeah. Again, last price point being the price that caused the home to sell. So how am I interpreting that if I'm a buyer or a seller, Tyler?
Yeah. Most of the time it's coming from the interpretation of the agent because we're the ones bringing those stats.
Right.
But it is, the market is telling us that buyers haven't found the value to make an offer on your home in this 30 days. The market is telling us they don't want your house at the current price that it's at.
That's not you, the agent, telling them that?
Nope, I may be relaying it, but the market is telling us that. So if we hit that, I go over these numbers at our listing appointment, everything here, especially if we know we're going to try and stretch.
Yep.
If we hit that, we're going to have a conversation about adjusting based on what our activity's been.
Well, and I think part of that conversation, especially early on, is understanding feedback, right? You have subjective feedback, which is agent shows the house. They say, we thought it was overpriced. We didn't like the smell of the dogs. We didn't like A, B, C, and D.
Yep.
Right? But you also have objective feedback. And objective feedback is you as an agent and Mr. and Mrs. Seller understanding that if our home doesn't sell in the first 30 days, specifically the first 2 to 3 weeks, the market is telling us that we're overpriced.
Right.
That's not me coming in and saying, you gotta pull the price lever and drop it.
Yep.
You hired us to do a job, and the job is sell your house, but part of that job is also understanding what the market is telling us.
Correct.
And so having those conversations, and I know you and how you operate, you're a lot like me. The relationship that you have with your seller is one of partnership.
Yes.
And it's not you that authors that price point that they hit the market at. It's a decision that you guys make together.
Yes.
And when you make that decision together, we own that decision to drop the price together.
Yes. Yep.
And so if you're out there and you're considering selling, understand that your authorship is also your ownership. And I just think it's interesting to be able to understand that objective feedback as it's not just the feedback that agents are giving.
Right. It is the market. I mean, we're here. We're coming through here with you, the journey with you. So, but we're going to talk about Sherburne and Hennepin as well.
Yep.
Sherburne kind of mimicked Wright County, 73.9 cumulative days.
Yep.
33.5. So 2 days average higher, probably because it takes a little bit longer to get across the bridge.
Yep.
But that's how me just being on this side of the bridge. Anyway, we're talking about
stick your nose up
exactly. But Hennepin, a little bit less days on market, 56 cumulative and 25 average. At which price point it caused to sell.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about this as it's likely because there are more homes that are sub 250 in Hennepin County.
Yeah.
More affordable for the general masses.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, you have oodles of townhomes, et cetera, right? Like everything in that price point. I think the interesting thing to touch on here is when we look at, let's just jump to Wright County again, specifically because we both live here.
Yeah.
Right. You have 160,000 residents in Wright County, approximately 60,000 households. We're seeing on average 70 to 80 some listings a week. Okay. About half of that, or some weeks, 2/3 of that, is stuff that's not built.
Yep.
So it feels to me, and buyers out there who are looking online a lot, you probably see this as well. It feels like there's so much more out there than there actually is available tactile walk-through at homes.
Yes.
And that's creating a weird feeling in the marketplace. Would you agree?
Yes. My hot take, I hate it. I don't think it's
market. Tyler's hot take.
I hate it. No, I don't think it's right to be, putting out 70 listings when it's just dirt, and online it looks like a built house.
I agree.
I think that is not doing the consumer any favor there.
Yeah. Well,
because it's a teaser price anyway.
And builders don't have to play by the rules of CDOM and PDOM.
Yes.
Right? So they can drop a listing, they can put it back up, it looks new and fresh, and the consumer doesn't see that had been out there for 735 days before they did that.
Right. Couple of birthdays.
Exactly. I'll get rid of a couple birthdays if I could.
Heck yeah. That'd be nice. But anyway, that's my hot take on how you're positioning in that market, because you can get lost in the noise.
Well, and you can get, you and I often talk about subsectors of the market, right? And we kind of started this interview this way is, what market are you talking about?
Right.
Because it's much different when you're looking at that entry level up to, I'd probably say 350 is what I'd classify as entry. And it's not the same as the $1 to $1.5 to $2 million homes, right?
Correct.
Each of those sub-markets transact much differently in terms of time frame, in terms of demand, in terms of, overall representation within the marketplace. And so you really have to break it down to that subset of the market.
100%. Because that's one question as agents. If you're doing your job, you can't avoid that. Like, if you tried to avoid that question, it'd be, tell me how. But it's a question that I enjoy answering, because I do dive deep into the stats, and I know my stuff.
Yeah.
I know you do as well.
And you have a Casio watch calculator and a pocket calculator.
Exactly. But is how I answer that. It's pretty bookended.
Yeah.
I think as in our previous interview, is like entry-level stuff, still pretty strong.
Very strong.
Probably will continue to stay strong.
Why?
Because the buyers, they keep on coming in. It's going to be your average people.
Yep.
And that's a great, strong, steady base to have. We don't anticipate, most of the experts don't anticipate for that price point to go down, period. That high-level stuff, still pretty strong, because there's a lot of cash.
There's a lot of money out there right now.
A lot of money out there, and they're usually not tied to any mortgage. It's that mid-market that's starting to become a little bit strained.
Yeah.
You've got a little bit, I would say, luxury options.
Yep.
From if you're leaving the entry-level market, probably going to get a good price on your home.
Yep.
But you also might get a little bit sticker shocked on the home that you're about to purchase in that mid-market.
Totally agree. I actually think there's more pressure on those top ends.
Yeah.
Because number one, if you're going in and buying a home entry level, you probably don't have a home sale contingency.
Right.
You're going to have a financing and inspection contingency, but you're going to be able to walk in and execute on that in 30 days. I actually think there's been pressure relief in the middle, because with days on market increasing, now somebody can go in, they can shop for a home, and they still have time to prep and list their home, and they can buy contingent. And that works out for a lot of people, because that mid-market is so big, depending on if you're talking at, 400 to 550, let's just say, or that 550 buyer who's moving up to 750, 800, let's just call it.
Yeah. All of that, you just have to have a bit more flexibility in understanding, let's be reasonable people here.
Yeah, I think reasonable expectations on behalf of buyers and sellers create win-win transactions.
Yes, and agents.
And agents. And win-win transactions create smooth, positive experiences for everybody involved.
Yep.
When somebody's stuck in the mud and very inflexible, all it does is end up hurting the other party and themselves.
Yes, which gets messy pretty quick over some of the dumbest things. Yeah.
Yep.
Which maybe kind of leads us, our home price is going to drop. When we kind of talk about these subsectors.
Yeah. If they're gonna drop, what subsector would you say that's going to be?
I would say if there's one at risk right now, it is going to be that step up home, because there's less buyers for more homes, and there's options. And the good part about it is a lot of times those mid-market people, they've got good equity. They can be flexible.
Yep.
And that might reflect in, you know what, I need to keep on moving on with my life. I can take a little bit less because it's not the most important thing.
Yeah.
So you might see some statistics drop in pricing. So that's where I think, not so much a negative aspect, but it's people leaving and just moving on with their life, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's two conversations around our home prices going to come down.
Yeah.
Number one is going to be, is our expectation that prices have maintained the same trajectory that they were on in 2019 through 2023. Because I think a lot of sellers are stuck on that trajectory.
Yes.
I could have got this. I should have listed my house and had 47 offers and this. That's not the market we're in anymore.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Time changes things, and real estate market's one of them.
Yes.
So the other thing is going to be, what does my next place look like? Right? And I think so many people saw this massive increase, right? We went just crazy with pricing. We were seeing double-digit pricing increases in so many different markets that now a single-digit price increase feels like a loss.
Right.
When statistically 4% appreciation year over year is the trend line if you measured end to end.
Yes.
So it is not a loss. It is your expectation of what the reality is.
Yes, 100%. And I think a lot of the conversation goes around, you hear negativity all the time. Oh, it's going to crash. It's going to crash. It's going to crash. It's going to crash. Now, and people, sometimes you hear people cheering for that. And it's just like, well, what you're cheering for is a discount.
You're cheering for the discount.
Without the consequences.
But you're going to experience the hurt as a result.
Yeah. And it's actually tied to a lot more things than just house prices.
Yeah.
And I think that's the danger part of, if you're the one cheering for a crash, is actually take a look at what that actually means across the country, across the world. And it's not good.
Well, you're cheering for a crash because you want a house on the cheap.
You want to save $300 a month.
But I don't think you can do that, because you're also cheering for the people in your family that just lost houses. Because or the people that now are in doom and gloom scenarios and have to have government assistance and all of these things are factors in it. You're cheering for something that you want without acknowledging the pain behind it.
Correct. So I think when you're asking, are they going to drop?
Yeah.
If I had to answer, not likely.
Probably not.
Not in any meaningful way.
Well, what I think is interesting too is when you look at what was projected from NAR, National Association of Realtors, NAR projected an increase of about 500,000 home sales this year, right? They went from 4.1 to, it was probably closer to 1 million, right? 4.1 to 5.
Yep.
They've since redacted that, and they've gone to 4.2.
Yes.
Because of everything that's happening, as we mentioned earlier, economically, politically. That's going to offer some benefits to some people who are willing to take that step, but they got to know why they're willing to do it.
Correct. And which I think we're shining the obvious reason of meet with somebody that is a professional in here. Let's have an open conversation and let it be a conversation. This isn't we're not selling widgets here. We are trying to fit into a little cog in the wheel of life for you to best get you to the next spot. Yep. It's not widget selling. That cut out again?
Yep.
All right, there we go. But anyway, I don't think it's going to drop. I think it feels more negative than it actually is. But
I think last time I looked at the stat, we were statistically nationwide. I'm using your stat. Look at me. You're the stats guy.
Yeah.
Statistically, nationally, we're about 12 million homes behind pace. Mm-hmm. And that would take us 35 years to make up the difference average home building number. So I don't think it's going to happen for that reason. If we see something occur on the national level that causes consumer confidence to drop even further, there's so many who knows, right?
Yeah.
But we got to live for today.
Exactly. And
so
stay in your own little bubble. Most of this in your day-to-day life doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
On the outside world.
Yep.
So anyway, but which leads us, should I sell now or wait for the rates?
What do you want to do?
Exactly. It depends. And I think I always go back to that return on experience, return on enjoyment is what in your life is telling you right now that you might want to be a seller or might need to be a seller.
I'll use this example because it's pretty drastic. I have a seller who, she had 2 homes. One was just sitting there. She had a pipe burst. She has had an absolute insurance nightmare. It had been 2 weeks since she visited the last one.
Oh, no.
Mold on the walls. I mean, it was bad, right? ServPro came in, did their whole thing. In an instance like that, what are you holding on to?
Right.
Like that is a valid question for someone looking to move up because they want to move up or move out for a reason. Something is holding them back a lot of times.
Yeah.
A lot of times, especially lately, it's been the rate, right? And we just heard the stat very recently. More people now have mortgages above that 3% threshold than they do below, right? So we had that golden handcuffs conversation last time about people handcuffed to their house because of the payment.
Right.
Even though that house was not fitting them, was not fitting their needs, was not serving them. We have to look at the greater good and the trajectory of what we want for our life and our lifestyle. And when we can match that with that return on experience that we desire, we might just have to bite the bullet.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody wants a $3,000 a month mortgage payment or $5,000 or whatever you're choosing to afford.
Yes.
But if your life dictates that, are you okay with it or not?
Because one thing remains true, though. You do have to live somewhere.
You do.
Like, you do.
Yeah.
So let's
that
make
is
it
the constant.
That is the constant. You do have to live somewhere.
You do have to live somewhere.
Again, and I think every single question in real estate is it depends. And are you paired with an agent that is skilled enough to ask what's the most important thing to you? Is it money? Is it time? Is it location? Is it experience? Is it amenities? All of that stuff.
Yeah, and things matter differently for different reasons to different people, right?
Yes.
And so there is no one-size-fits-all shoebox that we can fit any one of you into.
No.
It's a matter of going through, taking the time to have a buyer appointment or a buyer strategy session and figure out what is the timeline and what are the life decisions that we're making right now that inevitably will serve our greater good once we've accomplished them.
Exactly.
So I think if we come at it from the standpoint of looking 10 years or 15 years, it used to be buyers and sellers would move every 4 to 6 years.
Right.
And since COVID and 3% rates and, I mean, you name it, right? Now they're staying 10 to 12 years.
Yep.
Right? If you look 10 to 12 years out, what house are you in? And what house are you happy in?
Right.
That's the question I would ask is what house are you happy in? Mm-hmm. Because if you're miserable in this 3-bed split level with 7 kids, you're very Catholic. I know you are. It might be time to move up. Might be time to have a conversation about what we want for our life because we have such a short time here.
Yeah, because 10 years is an eternity and goes like that.
Yeah.
In the same sentence.
Yeah.
Is like, okay, so let's fit where you need to be.
Well, and what I would encourage everyone to do and everyone to think about is if your current house isn't working, call Tyler, call me, call somebody you trust. Yeah. It doesn't have to be either one of us, right? Correct. We're here to provide some guidance, but have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
Because the more you know, the more empowered you're going to be to make that life decision to move forward. to have that experience, to have that place for your family to grow.
Knowledge and information is never a bad thing.
No.
And the great part about real estate, the great part about you, great part about me, my team, your team, we are super thrilled to be sharing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, anybody who will listen, you know, we are super thrilled to be sharing it.
Yeah.
You know, and really because it makes our jobs easier.
Yeah.
If everybody just came to the market just with a little bit more information, you know, agents as well.
Well, and I think from an agent standpoint, we can both agree that none of what we talk about is unique.
No.
None of what we have like written out here is like this proprietary information.
You mean I did all that stat reconnaissance?
It's good.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's just not special, right?
Dang, yeah.
But it's the universal application of what we're talking about as it pertains to the buyer and seller that we're dealing with that I think makes things a little bit differently, right? Yeah. So just understand that as we have these conversations, we're open playbooks for whatever questions you have, whether you're an agent looking to break into the business, right? Yep. Or you're somebody who's looking at buying their first house, or your spouse passed away, you're 95 years old and you need to downsize.
Yeah.
Our interpretation of that business and how it fits your life and your lifestyle can help lay the foundation and lay the groundwork for your next phase in life.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really good way to end the conversation of like how Q1 was.
Yeah, I would agree.
Which I'm super excited to see what Q2 brings.
I think there's more optimism. I think, you know, the unique thing about Minnesotans is you get a little dose of sunshine. And
life
it goes
changes,
a long way, baby.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But, you know, Erick, thanks for coming in. We appreciate you here. I always appreciate your wisdom. I respect you a lot. And
likewise.
It's always having fun, these conversations. So,
amen.
Anyway, Erick Peterson, Tyler Reiss.
See you, everybody.
Wish I had sign-off music, but I don't.
Yeah.
So,
peace out.
Yeah.
You could do peace up A-Town.
That's exactly.
Or do peace up B-Town, maybe.